Let's install Devuan in this year. More videos will come up in this year, and this is just the first one. I want to have a look on Devuan Debian-FORK without systemd, and which is using the old Sysvinit starter Sysvinit, and this is the way Debian was most of the years. I use Debian now over 20 years, and so it's really interesting to look on Devuan Debian from the old days, but with the modern packages. We want to have a look about the i3-Windowmanager as well. This is i3-Windowmanager. This is the final result we want to reach. On the left side it's just the top system monitor with colorful output. Per default it's looking this way, but you can change some stuff so it's looking a bit better. Also very interesting, and on the right side this is just a system overview. This is just this alias. This gives me this output, so I always have an overview about uptime, the running system, the running kernel, and the disk usage, and the installed kernels. Just an example how you can write your own system monitor. This is how I do it, and this is a LXDE terminal, and on the workspace 2 this is LXDE in one big window, but also with gaps around. And the gaps, I show you these three options are important for me in the configuration of i3-Windowmanager. For a clean look, default border pixel 1 is just the surrounding border for the active window. I like it very small. Per default it's a bit bigger. And hide edge borders smart is just to avoid the big let's open a terminal here, and when I go, this is a normal tiled look of the window manager, and I can change, oh, that was the exit, I can change it to vertical stacked, so we would have it this way. And you also have the stacked layout. This is then you have a window then you have the window title bar, and then if I add more terminals, then it's looking this way, okay? And if we go back to tiling, then it's looking this way, and this is the stacked mode. So, and then it's also the windowed mode or the tabbed mode, and then you have tabs on the top. You see this? It's all the same output, but this is a tabbed mode. And for example, let's start Firefox. Then you get here in the top tab for Firefox. Okay. So I close some terminals, and now we have only 3 tabs. And this is how you can work. And if we go back to tiling, it would be looking this way, or again this way, horizontal stacked, or the stacked mode is this way, okay? And you can change this with super key W. You go into the tabbed mode. With super S, you go in the stacked mode, and with super E, you go in the tiling mode. And when you repeat the E, it's switching between horizontal and vertical. So, and per default, this window title bar would be shown also in the tiled mode. And I don't like this, because when I only have one window like this, I don't need the title bar for the window. And this is what I can do with this hide edge border smart option. And I like this. So this is Firefox in big. Let's close it with super Q or super shift Q, depending on how you create the configuration. You can close the window. So this is a floating window, and if I do super shift space, I switch between floating and tiled window. This is how you can do it. And this is just a wallpaper from DEVUAN. I like this. And this is a fast fetch output from DEVUAN. I like the icon from DEVUAN as well. And this is standard. The standard. The standard start of i3, how I configured, because at the end of the i3 configuration I just did 2 exec alias commands, so it's directly starting in with 2 terminals with the top command and just a terminal, so I have directly a basic start where I can start from. I also can start Firefox from this terminal here. Per default you can use super key and D to start dmenu on the top and start a program like Firefox or alias. But I also can, when I do in the auto start the terminal, I can start from the terminal as well. Firefox send in the background and then I can move it, for example, to space 3, and there I have Firefox. Close it with super Q, super shift Q, and then that's it. Again, I show you some stuff. Firefox sent in the background, and now the jobs command show me the running jobs in the background, and I see so if I type fg, it's getting the process in the foreground. Now you see this, and with ctrl-z you can stop it, and with bg you can let it run in the background again. And if I do fg, it's in the foreground, and with ctrl-c I can cancel the running process. And this is where how you can also start programs from the terminal directly. I like this. And for example, if you want to start Firefox in the background but you don't want to see any output, you just pipe it standard output to def null, and then the standard error output as well, pipe standard error output also there where standard output is sent. So, and then it's at the end in the background. So okay. Some more stuff. Foreground, ctrl-c, cancelled. So this is how you can also work in the terminal. So just by the way, it may be interesting. And now let's go to install DEVUAN. How can we create this target system? I don't use terminal transparency in this case, because I more and more try to go to the simplest, clean, lean way. Just use the basic configuration, don't change too much, and start with a simple modified configuration. So, and also I created some aliases here, and you see the aliases are put into bash aliases, and then you have to make sure that the bash aliases is also sourced in the bash rc. and with the aliases you can easily start programs. For example, NA, I did the alias command NA for nano editor because I use this very much, and I have an alias for as well for power off, and for U is just starting the full upgrade all up to date, and with D is the system overview, and power off is power off the virtual machine. So here we are in the host system, and now I show you, I work with virtual machines directly in the terminal, so I create a qcode2 image, devuan i304 for this day, and I just show you my command. I created a script, qemu for core memstart no audio.sh, and this is the basic, the core command in the script, which is starting qemu system x86 64, and then break the line or don't interpret the line break. This is all in one line normally, but this way you can read it better. Enable KVM, enable kernel support, so it's more faster, and then CPU, use the host CPU, it's also faster virtualization. Then I give four CPU cores, and then the memory I give 4 GB. Then display GTK, some options like window close off, show menu bar, and so on. Zoom to fit is important. This is the basic qemu command, and zoom to fit is important, that it's always scaling the output to the maximum, and some more options you can change how you want. This is not important yet, and the HDA is the disk I give to the qemu command, and this is just the variable it's giving the the argument which I give the script. So I created an alias as well, alias q. This is linked to this, and this alias is linked to this alias, which is just linked to the script, because I have multiple scenarios and multiple scripts. So I have multiple aliases to start very fast. In this case, it's just q is starting my whole qemu script, and then I give the disk dev1, I give this disk the qcode2 image, and then I do cd-rom // install isos dev1 in this case. But I don't want to do this yet now. I want to show also how to create a qcode2 image. qemu-image create -f format qcode2, and then just dev1 qcode2, for example. And at the end I have to give the disk size, and disk size I did 4.7 I think, but let's do 4.3 G in this case. And now okay, I had a background process, and now also you can just qemu image info puts out information about the qcode2 image. This is this, and here you can see virtual size 4.3 GB. This is how you can work in the terminal with the qcode2 virtualization images. So just to tell some stuff about the background, maybe you want to start also virtualization in the terminal. There are more things which you have to install to use qemu correctly in the terminal, but it's not that complicated. So now let's start the installation. Q devuan -cd-rom ..install isos devuan. And normally you can also put boot to give from which disk or CD-ROM you should boot, and D would be starting from the CD-ROM, and C would starting from the first hard disk, A as well. But if you don't give anything and the hard disk Q-Core2 image is empty, he would always start directly from the CD-ROM, and here we are. So this is the devuan CD-ROM, and let's start the installation. So let's choose English. I choose in this case Europe, Germany, and locales in English, and key map also English, and let's start. I don't edit this video in this case, maybe in future, but I just want to start again in this year to create some videos. And so if you want to go further, just jump a bit when some longer parts are in the installation process. So root password, I leave it empty, so I have directly the sudo enabled for the user, because if you give a root password, you will not have sudo installed and can't use sudo with the user directly. You have to log in manually to the root first and install and configure sudo for the user. So we leave root empty to get sudo, and then the sudo name and safe and secure password. I learned from DT. And now we can use the guided disk partition or guided with LVM. This is also very good, or encrypted LVM. I do the manual way, and I like to use LVM now. In the last months I learned deeply about the logical volume management, and I will show videos in the future about logical volume management more. I did create one video in the last year, I think, and this is absolutely amazing, LVM, because you can very easily resize partitions. It's unbelievable. So we use this disk, yes, new partition, then we have free space, and we create a new partition, full size in this case, primary, and then I change from ext4 to physical volume for logical volume management. Done. Now we have a partition for LVM, and then we go up, configure the logical volume manager, write changes to disk, display the configuration. Here you see volume groups not created yet, unallocated physical volumes. This is the whole disk. Now create volume group. By the way, you can go with the arrows up and down, but you can also go with Ctrl N for next, down, and with Ctrl P up in this menu. This is so much faster than switching with the hand to the arrows and so on. So I discovered it very late in the last years. Maybe it's very helpful for some people. Create volume group, and now we create the volume group. When you want to look in the older video, I explained the system of LVM a bit, and then you have many levels. You create a physical volume, which we have done, and now the next level is create a volume group with the physical volume, and in the group you put different logical volumes. So we give a volume group name, and I start always with VG for volume group, and then dev1 I3, and then 04 in this case for the day. I like to make it very specific, so if I have to repair a system and start with another system, I don't get confused with multiple volume groups. So we use SDA physical volume for this group, and if I had multiple physical volumes or disks, I could add multiple to the volume group. Now you see the information. Now you see volume group is created with the physical volume, but no logical volumes. So let's create logical volume. We use volume group and logical volume name. Now I create boot, and the size, let's do 487 for boot. Sometimes I make it a bit smaller, but to go safe, nearby 500 or up to 700 MB is a very safe way in these days. Maybe in the future you go more into 1 gigabyte. I know the modern systems, Ubuntu and so on, they are more going to create 1 gigabyte for the boot partition. So now you see the details, and we see now provides logical volume boot. Create another one, volume group, logical volume name. Now we create swap, and swap we have just a small i3 window manager configuration, so we don't run out of memory. I just do 220 megabytes for swap in this case, very small for a virtual machine. In real case it would be another way. I would make it much bigger, but just in this case. And then I could also create, let's do var for the temporary for the cage and the locks and so on. For example, if you install programs, it will put the downloaded Debian packages onto var cage apt archives, and so let's do this, and we give the size to 1.3 MB and then there's the error. This is interesting. I don't know why. Not created in this case, so I did something wrong, I think. Let's look. Yeah. Again, var, and then use 3. In this case it was successful. Yeah, there it is. And at least we create the root logical volume. And this is 3600 MB, and I make it a bit smaller, so I have 300 megabyte free, and I can adjust very easily later some logical volume partition if I acknowledge that some stuff is a bit small. So I go to 3.3. It's a very small virtual machine in this case. It's not a real case, it's a virtual machine. So I don't think that is the way to go for a real machine. And also, if you install GNOME or another desktop environment, this would be not possible, because you need minimum 5 or 6 gigabyte for GNOME, and for Plasma it's a bit more, I think. But we install only a small window manager, so this is the overview. All the logical volumes: boot, root, swap, var, boot 586 and root 3 gigabit and 300 megabyte, swap 200 something, var is 1.3 gigabyte. So let's finish. And now we see these are the logical volumes. Here's the partition for logical volume manager, and here are the logical volumes. And here we have boot, and now we go use this logical volume with ext4 and the mount point boot. Enter. And at the end, done settings, and now you see boot should be mounted on /boot. Then root, the same, ext4, and then mount point, root, root, and then var, use ext4, mount point, var, variable data. And then we have this var is mounted to var, and then we have swap and use this as swap area, and then done. And so we have boot boot, root root, swap swap, var var, and this is the main LVM partition. So this is how we go. Finish, write changes to disks. So it's installing the base system. Yeah, I like Devuan. I tried some stuff with Devuan in the last days, and it's also interesting just to repeat the knowledge about Sysvinit, how Debian was working in the older days. And now, since, I don't know, 2014 or so, systemd was getting the default on Debian. I think Debian was the last distribution which defaults to systemd. But in these days we hear about the things about the age verification stuff and so on, and so the interests are getting higher about the non-systemd distributions, and I think I will do some stuff about this in the future and look on some stuff. There's also wonderful Linux, which is a distribution based on Devuan. It's nice configured for newer users, but I prefer to go with the base. So no extra installation media. Use network mirror, yes, Germany in this case. You go for your country. So configuring apt. And by the way, the Devuan installer has only the old CLI or terminal output, like it looks here. There is no graphical installer like Debian has this on their installation DVDs. But this is absolutely fine. I remember the old days when I installed Debian, and it was always looking this way. But I like the graphical installer from Debian as well. I choose this per default when I install Debian. Participate in the package usage? No, don't. If you want to make some packages popular, you do yes. So now we leave this empty, and also SSH. I don't need this in this case. I don't SSH into the virtual machine. We start this directly. Important is here, per default it would be using Devuan desktop environment and xfce. This is the main desktop for Devuan, and also I used Debian in the old days most of the time with xfce. And when you want a minimal system, you make sure don't install the Devuan desktop environment, because even if you don't enable xfce and have mark the Devuan desktop environment, it would be installing xfce also. So I leave this empty to install just the basic system, and then let's do it. And you see only 102 packages, 110. It's very, very minimal, and then we start over in the manual way. So it should be very fast in this case. If you install directly a complete desktop, it would be used more time, but we are running very fast through it. So I just explained some more stuff at the beginning. Now we can choose the init system. sys4init is the default on Devuan, like it was on the old Debian days. And there's a newer one, openrc, and also runit. OpenRC is used in Alpine Linux, for example, and some other Linuxes. Sys4init is already used in Slackware Linux, which I also installed in the last months. And sys4init is available in a special ISO with MX Linux, and also with Antix, I think. MX Linux changed last year from sys4init to systemd per default, but they deliver also a sys4init ISO. So we stay with sys4init. There's also a way to install Debian minimalistic and then change manually from systemd to sys4init. Maybe I do also a video in the future about this. Maybe very interesting. Install grub, yes, and install it on dev SDA. So setting up users, finish the installation. So here we are. Please choose to reboot. Let's go. And now we'll see he's rebooting. And now you see, oh, that's interesting. Directly we get the graphical grub with Devuan wallpaper. It's looking nice. I like this. Normally on Debian you get only a simple blue one without the wallpaper in the background. And if you want to install Debian minimalistic and you want to get the desktop base, you have to install the package desktop minus base, and then you get the basic wallpaper for the current Debian stuff and so on. So here we are on a simple login. Let's log in, then here we are. I hope it's I hope you can see this. Let's check, can I zoom in? Yeah, there's the option. Yeah, we zoom in, so that's good. And yeah, okay. So let's type lsblk dash device SDA. So this is the disk in this moment. I hope this resolution is enough, this font size. df-h text4. And now you see SDA, and here are boot swap var root, the volume groups we created, and the on dev mapper volume group, there you can use the device to mount it. You also see this when we go nano etc fstab. Here you see the fstab, and here you see the volume group logical volume device, or the logical volume, which is mounted to root and boot var. So just to show this, here's the top command. With Z you can get a graphical output. I do it in blue, and tasks also in blue. Enter, and now it's looking this way, and then I use the bar, and then I use this with capital W. You write the config. If you use now the top command, it's starting always with this configuration. You can also show all single CPUs, but I stick with this, just by the way. So at first I do echo blacklist dash floppy, and then sudo t etc mod probe blacklist floppy.conf. So we blacklist the floppy device, but you know, I did something wrong. Here we have to use a space. This is right. And then you can do update sudo update-initramfs -u to update the initram, and then the floppy device is removed. lsblk you see here on the top fd0. This is the floppy device, and I don't want to see this in a virtual machine. This is just the case in the virtual machine, just to show you how you can do it. So also I log into root now. It's faster. With sudo -i you can start a bash as root, a shell. So now you are root, and you don't have to always type sudo before each command. You can directly start with all what that you want. Nano etc default grub, and then I always change the timeout to 1, so it's starting a bit faster. And also you can okay. So here you see grub gfx mode. Nah. Did I something? Did I hang up something here? Okay. Again, here we are. And the GFX mode. Here you can change the GFX mode if you want to change the resolution. Also helpful. And if you want to enable a boot splash, you insert here splash. Okay, I don't use this in this case, but then you can do with the Plymouth package. You get the boot splash after starting with group, just by the way. You know, let's make it a bit bigger again. Now I want to show you lsblk df. You know what? We do this way: clear lsblk def sda df-ht-ext4, and then do ls-lhtr boot init rd, and then here we are, the lsb output, then the disk usage and the installed kernel images, and then we could do echo, and then we have volume group show, and no, physical volume show, volume group show, logical volume show, logical volume scan. And again I have to make it this way. Now you see the output lsblk, then the disk usage, the kernel, and then we have the command for, I don't know why, the comment for the volume groups. VGS, I don't know what's going on here. Here now. VGS shows the volume groups, PVS shows the physical volumes for the logical volume management, and LVS shows the logical volumes. Now you see on the listing of the volume group at the end 288 megabytes are already free, and we can easily resize a logical volume with LV resize dash dash resize fs dash dash size, and then for example plus let's add 40 megabyte to dev volume group swap, but this will not be possible, I think. No, it's not possible in this case. First I had to swap off -a, and then I would mkfs.ext4 device volume group devuan swap. I just write it over with the AXT, and now I can resize the swap, successfully resize, and now I just do physical volume show, logical volume show, and then you see the swap partition is 40 megabytes bigger. And now I just have to mk swap again, and then we created swap lsblk-f. Let's check, and there it's listed. Swap is now with the file system type swap, and then we can swap on -a, and then top command we see that give a listing. We see now that the swap 248 is now available. This is this one. Let's get the overview here, and here we are. So just by the way, and now logical volume resize dash dash resize fs dash dash size, and plus let's do 20 MB, or let's do 17 MB for the device volume group devuan boot. Now you can directly resize logical volume when it is with a file system ext4. Enter, successfully resized logical volume size, and now you see the boot logical volume, the size is now 484 megabyte. We enlarged it a bit. So just by the way, how you can easily work with logical volume and can resize it after installation. So we go further. Now let's go nano etc apt sources.list, and with alt D we can comment out a line, go down. With ctrl-n you can go downwards, and with ctrl-p you can go up in nano. Alt D is commenting out. You can switch comment out, comment in with alt D. Now I prefer to not use non-free firmware, so I just go with ctrl-e, you jump to the end of the line, and then this is how I like it, very clean and lean. And also the updates point releases bring all updates, and this brings the updates earlier. So ctrl-x is going out from nano, and now we can do update the package lists. All packages are up to date, and then let's do apt install desktop base, and I want also the bash completion might not be installed. So desktop base will get installed, but in this case the bash completion is installed, I think so. And then let's check the suggested packages. All fine. And yeah, this is just desktop base. Let's start. Take some time, yeah. Okay, I also want to show the local purge package. This is also very helpful. Update-initramfs. Okay, clean. Let's install APTITUDE. APTITUDE is amazing. This is the way I was updating my Debian most of the years. And then let's install local purge, which is removing all not needed locales. Make sure you have your language enabled to keep it on your system. Okay. In this way I do pass exclude to no. So he's also checking all installed packages and removes all unneeded locales for the installed packages. Elsewhere he would only do it for the packages that get installed afterwards. So, and now let's execute locale purge, and then you see 150 megabytes cleaned up. If you have a desktop environment installed, it's easily up to 450 megabytes or 500 or 600 megabytes. So you can get more space if you install the local purge packages, but you have to make sure you know what you want, and it's not a multi-user system with multiple languages. It's only for very small systems, for very clean systems. So let's use aptitude. You can work very good with aptitude. With / you can search a package. For example, let's do i3, or let's do this way, i3 and $, so we have the directly i3 package. With plus, you can mark it for installation. With K you go up, with J you go down, like in Vim keys. And i3wm, i3wm, i3 logs, i3 blocks. Let's search for alacrity. Here's alacrity. Let's install this one, and then let's install phi, this one, and then let's install xserver-xorg-core, this one, and then input, lib input is most important to use the keyboard and the mouse into a system. This is how I do it in a virtual machine, very small. If you make sure all things are working well, install the input all packages. And the same with video all, you make sure all is running very well. I make it very small, and I use only the video VESA package and the Intel package. So with G you get a preview which packages get installed. With capital D you can enable or disable the information about the package. Yeah. So we have alacrity, phi, i3 core into, and let's check. Libraries, and now RX40 Unicode. I don't need this. Sucklist tools is important to get the D menu to start a program. This is amazing. So let's do it manually. With M you can mark a package as manually installed to make sure it's getting never automatically removed. X11 utils. Let's get the information. With enter you get detailed informations. XKB. Yeah. And xserver utils. So this package is important, X11 xserver utils, because here you have the xrenderer program in this to resize the resolution. So we install i3 with xserver x11, and here we can also check the other packages, and this is fine. So if you want to fresh up the preview, just quit with Q and then just show again. With Ctrl+F you jump a page down easily, with Ctrl+B you jump up, and then you have all the view, and with G you execute the installation. Then it's downloading. So I like Aptitude also in these days. Again, it's very fast. Once you learn the key bindings, you are so fast in searching packages, install packages, upgrade the system. With you you just update the package list, and with capital U you mark the upgradable packages for upgrades, and with G you get a preview, and second time the G executing the upgrading. So it's very easily to manage the packages with Aptitude. Most of the days I was using Aptitude, and on one day I discovered the graphical package manager Synaptic, but for some cases and for newer users Synaptic is good, but if you want a fast workflow, I can recommend Aptitude also in these days. So everything is done, and now with let's update the package list again. Nothing changed. Then let's look for Firefox-ESR, and let's install also Firefox, and then execute. So and then I want to make sure that we can switch into i3, and then we do the detailed configuration of i3. I'm not exactly sure, but I think we did the most important stuff. Let's check also Rofi. Rofi is amazing to start graphical programs, so let's install Rofi. And another terminal which is very good is the Sakura terminal. Let's install this as well. And then if you want a graphical login program, you can use the Slim, for example. But I don't use this in this case. This is a login manager to jump into your desktop. I want to show you an auto login into Getty, and then how to auto start after 3 seconds your in X11 desktop. So we only install Rofi and Sakura. And then important is when you did some installations with ctlt, you jump into the menu, and then with C you clean the package cache to make sure your system is not overrunning the space. But I think on one time the Debian changed automatically that after installation the packages get deinstalled, removed automatically out from the cache. So we see we have already 1.3 GB free, that's fine. And now let's check this is fine. Let's check startx. With startx you start your X11 desktop, and startx is not found in this case. This is very interesting. So we have also to install sudo aptitude. Which package is needed is xinit. Xinit is the most important package. You see in the description, xinit and startx are programs. So it's good to show this failure, so you know exactly this is the most important package to start the X11 desktop. Enter, quit, and now start X, and you see we directly started into i3 VM. And you know why? Because we only have installed i3 and nothing else. And I show some other stuff afterwards. We jump into i3 in this case first. Here you see this window is important. Create the i3 configuration or not. I create it, enter, and now you can switch between the Win or Alt key. Choose which will be the main key for all key bindings. Normally I like to use Alt key in virtual machines, but you get some complications with some key bindings, so it's easier to use the Windows super key. So let's do it, enter, and then we have a basic configuration. With the super key. So the first stuff to know how to start in i3. Super key D is starting the D menu on the top, and then you can Sakura, for example, the terminal, Alacrity, the terminal, Firefox. So with super key enter, it is starting a terminal this way. You see, you get the point where we was at the beginning. Let's execute the top command. Here you see the top command, and here this is the simple way. We change to workspace 2. You see we have no wallpaper set yet, and so we change some stuff now. You see also we have the window title bar on the top. Yeah. So we open a terminal, and now let's do nano. First I want to fix the resolution, desktop resolution. The resolution you change with xrender -- output virtual in this case, or on a real machine you use HDM and so on, and then -- mode. Tab key is autocompletion, and then 13 autocompletion. It's showing this. Now it's changing the resolution, and we see that's very good. So, and then I just do this echo, and I echo this, and then I append this to the i3 config. Okay, and then also we can fee user share wallpaper or grub default no desktop base grub themes, and then Sapphire background. Here you see this is a wallpaper, for example, and then we can deep see. This is this one. So we choose this one for the wallpaper. You can also check the, cinnabar. This is looking this. With Alt and backspace, you can delete a whole word in the shell line. And dark, this is this one. So we go with Sapphire. Let's choose this one, and we choose this as background. I'm not sure in this moment, but yeah. So we put it into quotes and again echo, and then I just insert dash b background bg fill, and then this way. And we put in also to make the progress in the background, and then also exec is important. So this is the comment we want to use, and this I add. Important is here you need the double arrow. With only one you overwrite a complete file and empty it. So important is make sure you do that twice the arrow. And then config is3 config. So, and now we also can do, let's check, alacrity-e top. We add this, and then we add this, and then with ctrl-u you delete all the stuff before the cursor, and then we do nano, open the configuration, we jump to the end with ctrl-end, and here at the end you see exec alacrity. This is what we let's stay here, and exec xrender and exec phi for the wallpaper. These two we delete out, jump to the beginning, and ctrl-v is page one page forward in nano editor. But we also can insert this here in this, and then just do by then auto start. I put the screen resolution and the wallpaper in the beginning because it's important for me to have it very early to set the basic. And you also can make sure if something gets wrong with the wallpaper, just add it again a second time at the end if something works not well with the resolution. So then I go directly to the bar section, and here I put in position top. Ctrl-S, I write this, and then I go to workspace 3, and with super shift R or C you reload the configuration of i3, and you see the bar is switched to the top. Okay, this is this. And now let's stay to the bar nano.config i3, nothing there. You know what we have to do, mkdir config i3 status, and then we copy etc i3 status conf from the etc, just the template, and write it into i3 status directory as a name config. So, and now nano, open this, and now I just I disable just the stuff I don't want, and I want to make it very clean. I only want the time in the bar, and then I change this to this, and then I do this way. Yeah, that's it. So now we reload the configuration, and now you see the top bar is now very clean, just the time and the weekday and the day. This is how I like it. So go out, and this was about the bar. And then we can also, we copy this line with Ctrl-K, you cut out a line With Alt U you reverse a change, undo a change, and with Ctrl U you can insert out a line or stuff you marked in Nano. So we put in into the bar section the font, and then for example change this to 12. So restart, super key Shift R, and now you see the top bar is much bigger. We change this to 10. This is nice. Okay. Then I insert here by Dan. And now the three important options which I showed in the beginning, and this is default, border, pixel 1. You see the border is now about 2 pixels or so, and let's change it, for example, to 7. And then go to a new workspace, we refresh the configuration, open a terminal. Now you see it's a very big border. You see this? Yeah. And let's do it to 11, for example. Restart. Now you see this is a big border. This is how you can do it. So, and I like it to 1 and restart. And we see after restart nothing is changed, so you have to close all the windows first, and then you open new one, and you know, then you see a very, very small border. I'm switching between the windows, and this is nice. And now hide edge border smart. Now look onto the title bar. You know, the border pixel 1 is also changing, that the title bar is not shown in the normal way. And this is the tiling mode, and you can with Super S switch to stacked mode, and now you see the title bar, or with Super W in the tabbed mode, and then you see the title bar. Okay, but in the normal tiling mode with Super E you can switch to tiling mode and switch between horizontal and vertically, and with Super V you can create a new container downwards, and then you get this, that you open there some terminals. But normally it would put all the terminals in just one row, and this is it. So hide edge border smart, let's write it, and then you see I'm not sure. Yeah, okay. You know, hide edge border smart is doing the. Oh, we have an error in the config. Hide edge borders smart. This is. Yeah, this is right. Now open a terminal. And now you see, if you only have one window open, there is no border drawn around. Only if you open a second one, you see now the border. Okay, and this is what I like. Most of the time I only have one window opened and I don't want to see any border, and this is the option, hide edge borders smart. Okay, and then let's do gaps inner 5px, and then we get the gaps around window. Refresh, we open a terminal, and now you see we have a little gap here, and we change this to 15, for example, and now you see it a bit better. So, and when we set the wallpaper, you will see it much better. Okay, this is it for this moment. You also could, you know, what I like is to disable the mod +H horizontal orientation key binding, and then I change the normal key binding here, moved focused window. I change this to the vi-keybindings, L and then K and then J and then H. And the same we do here, H, J, K, L, and then we can use also the vi-keybindings to switch between the windows. This is better in Sway, the Wayland compositor that is built upon i3. So I don't know why they never fixed this in i3. This makes no sense here. So then what we also can do is we copy this line, do the shift insert, and then we just do rofi-show drun. Okay, refresh i3 and now see Super D is opening on the top the D menu to start, for example, Firefox. And with Super Shift D now we get the rofi-menu. Okay, and then you can also open a program with rofi. And then just by the way, rofi theme selector is what I like. With this you can change the themes. You just switch here and, for example, enter, and then you see this is another theme. Okay, I like this, for example. Or yeah, for example, with Alt A you accept the theme, for example. And now if you open rofi the next time, you get rofi with this changed theme. Okay, this is how you can change easily a theme. There are options also in rofi to enable the icons and so on. But yeah, I'm not sure. If you go rofi man and then grab config, grab dump here with rofi dump config and do .config rofi config rasi. Then it's this way. You know, the rofi dump config is just put out the complete config in this way. And then when you write it into rofi config rasi, you can nano edit this stuff. And then you can change some stuff. For example, show icons, out comment this and change this to true. And now you see you get the icons in rofi. Okay. This is a basic thing. You can change more, discovered by yourself. But rofi theme selector, and then we can again arc-dark is nice, or this Aether. In this case, I like the arc-dark or adapter. No, arcdark is also nice. Alt A, we change this. So now we have the theme with the icons. You see, you can also change the size of the icons and other stuff. But for the basic usage, this is how you can use Rofi, for example. So let's go back here. We inserted Rofi with a key binding, super shift D, and super D is just the D menu. You also could mark this and insert this here, and so we switched just the key binding. With super D we get directly the rofi-menu, and with super shift D we get the D menu. So I like also to add some key binding for the terminal. Just the super shift enter, and then I also like the mod 1 is the alt key, and shift and T binding. Refresh, we go on the new space, Ctrl alt T, not opening, but super shift return is now opening a terminal. Normally is mod shift. I'm not sure why. Here this is wrong. Ctrl plus mod 1. This is it. So, and Ctrl, and now this key binding is working as well. And then page up. Yeah, that's it basically. That's nice. So I would say let's have a check. These are the most important things. So you see default border pixel 1, hide edge border smart, gaps, and then auto start the xrenderer on the top. Xrenderer, here this command, xrenderer, and the phi command for setting a background. Xrenderer, you could also do this in background. It's not important in this case because it's it's running also well, but make sure if you start programs, send the programs in the background at the end with this sign at the end. So log out, workspace 1, and now we can pkill sway, pkill i3, and now you see it's not working well. Pkill user Dan, and then we go back to the terminal here. Let's start X again, and now we start directly in i3. And now you see we get directly the two terminals, the terminal with the top command and just a simple terminal. You can switch it with super shift arrows left right or the Vim keys. And then you have this one. Okay, so this is very similar to the default which I showed in the beginning, and I like this. I don't have the transparency for the terminal. You should use the PyChem program when you want to add a transparency. I like this configuration just with gaps, so the gaps make possible that you not see only the black screen, but you see the background a bit, and this is very, very nice, and it's enough because it's only it's also a very low resource usage. Yeah, so this is the basic, and I like the top command in color. This is very well. And now let's add some system overview. with lsblk and df and so on. But I want to show you Firefox. And I close this and open again Firefox. I remove this directly. I don't like this, and I don't like this, and I don't like this, and I set the settings, open the previous Windows search from Google to DuckDuckGo and general. I change and disable this, disable the recommendations and close. And then remove this, and then we devuan.org and add the bookmark. So we start with devuan. And then also i3vm.org. Is this the page? Yeah, this is the page. So I show you, this is the web page from i3vm. You can also change into full screen. And when you go on the i3 page, you have some information, but for the document, go here and then go to the user's guide, bookmark, and then in the user's guide I show you search for default border. Here you see the option default border, and then you see pixel and the given pixel like I did it in the configuration. Okay, and then search hide edge borders. This is this option. This is what I showed. Hide edge borders, and then non-vertical, horizontal, both, or smart. And smart is amazing, and smart no gaps is also possible. So for example, with one window you will not have the gaps around it. Okay, this would be the other possibility. And then search for gaps inner. Here you have the gaps inner options with pixel. Gaps inner pixel. This is this option. So just to show you where you can search the detailed options for the i3 configuration. So now let's go to create the specific bash rc and bash aliases. Bash rc dot bash aliases. So with alt dot you can switch the buffer between the files, and you see the bash aliases is empty. So with ctrl-w you can search ps1, and we jump directly here to the ps1. This is the bash prompt, and just to show you, this is the bash prompt now with the green output, the name and the host name. And then I like to remove the $sign and remove the colon. And then I also like to remove my username, because I know my username, I only want the host name. And then I change the color from 2 to 4 is from green to blue. And now I open a terminal, and now you see this is a new bash prompt, just in a blue and very small. And if I go cd.config, you see now he's also prompting the current directory. Okay, with cd you jump back in the home directory. So we change the bash prompt, and then we jump to the end, ctl end, and then I just add the d to execute the D alias we create now afterwards. And then I just do echo use backslash, so APTT, just to get the information. I use the APTT. This is the alias for using aptitude. And then we create our aliases, alias d equal, and then so, and then clear and then echo, and then so this is a colorful output. 34M is blue, 0 is just black white, and 1, so 34M, this is the dark blue, and when you add the 1 it's a light blue. Okay, and then no, and then I cut this out so I can copy it very fast in. Then I do the uptime command, and then I do grab pretty etc os release pipe into cut dash d equal dash f2 pipe into set, and then just substitute backslash the quotes and cut it out globally, and then we have just the nice line, and then it's looking this way. You see this? This is the output we get, and then I add again this one, and we change this to R1, so it's the red color. Uname -r is the kernel, and then it's looking this way. Add again this, and then we and then we add the df-ht-ext4. Normally you add a space here to be correct, but if you want to do it very fast, you ignore it. It's also possible. So then we create the 3 for yellow color, and then we do ls-lhtr boot init d.image minus and asterisk, and pipe it into grab dash v line beginning L to make sure no links are listed, and then pipe it into the cut command. Delimiter is in this case the T character, and then the fields are 329999, and then we add again the colorful output, and we end with the echo, change the color back to the 0. And you know what I forgot is, you know, this is the output yet, and you see that this color changing is just printed out, but no colors was changed. And this is why I forget. That's search and replace, and we search for the echo equal and do echo equal echo space dash e space, and now we say okay, replace this, replace this, replace this, replace this, replace this, and now we have echo dash e, and now you see all of a sudden we get it in the colorful output. But now we see we have here a empty line between, and we don't want this. What was this? So we have to make sure echo dash e space, again replace, and replace this with echo en. So n is not printing a line break, so it's not printing the empty line. And now replace, 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 and then you see all is echo en. And now you see this is the short output like we wanted. And we have the alias, type D, enter, and then you can all the time get the output. If you type stuff and you want a clean type D, enter, and you have the system overview and a clean terminal. So we are very good here. And then I add this and do this also, but without the grep, and add the fast fetch, and then I insert here the s, and then lsblk -f, and then we do the k for this one, and then we do the L for ls -lhtr -color equal always -group directories first. So this is how I like it. And then, you know, I like the grep, a shorter grep alias. This is my way, alias. And now NA for nano, and then we go alias CV for cat alias, and then we do APTT equal, and now sudo aptitude. And this is what I like. And now you see I can type APTT, and then it's executing sudo aptitude. Okay. And NA is now opening nano. And cv.config i3 is just cutting out a file. D alias, cleaning the screen with system overview. And if I want to do now grep, the shorter grep alias, and let's grab position. Now it's grabbing the position out of the file. So, and it's colorful. This is important. My grep alias is colorful, and it's also automatically with ignoring the capital or smaller characters. The L alias is just listing the directory, and always with clearing the screen. This is what I like. You execute some commands, and then L clear the screen and the output of the directory. APTT fast fetch. Let's install fast fetch. So go on the next screen, open a terminal, and then F. Now we have the system overview we have written, but with the fast fetch command. And when you want, you can fast fetch --gen generate config, and then .config fast fetch config, and then you can, for example, comment out some stuff here. For example, okay. For example, the cursor also. So comment out, write, and then you have a shorter fast fetch output. Okay. So we have the F alias with fast fetch and the shorter D alias with a system overview. We have the uptime, we have the system name, we have the running kernel, the disk usage, and the installed kernel. So I always see which is currently running and installed. So this is basically this. And then I also like to create some aliases for uptop, update, and then up2 is for update, sudo apt upgrade, sudo apt auto purge, sudo apt clean at the end, and then I copy this one also and make the alias just within u. So, and then we can also do apt-c. Apt-c is just for cleaning, auto purge all unneeded packages and clean the package cache. And then I do also pa, purge auto purge. It's just sudo apt auto purge to very fast deinstall a program. Purge. We have a mistake here. This one. And now you see it's show. This is what I like, and also policy pol. And then there's also apt-list list -- installed, and then we have the upgradable, and then we have the up list. So these are my most important aliases for apt. So I can very fast, for example, I do up2 is running the full upgrade and cleaning. apt-c is only cleaning. apt-pa, for example, let's check Sakura terminal. When you decide, okay, this the Alacrity terminal is only configured with configuration file, and which is good about Sakura terminal, you can change the configuration easily over a menu. Select the font, and select the color, green on black, for example. Then you see here it's a green text. So you can solarize dark or select color solarize light. So this is the Sakura terminal. This is very nice. You can easily change it over a menu. And you also, Sakura terminal also has easily the opacity transparency, but you need to run the PyChem program to execute this. So this is the Sakura terminal, just to show you. And when you decide, okay, I don't want a Sakura, apt-pa is auto-purging the Sakura terminal. And if I want so, I can install easily. And you see, I forgot the apt alias install, and then source.bashrc, and then I execute apt Sakura again, and then with this I can very fast install a program. This is really great. apt sooner, for example, is installing sooner. Let's move this to another workspace, and then you see this and then it's installing Thuna file manager. And then we are basically very much ready. This is dev1. So installation is nearly done. Also you can do packages, package repositories, and then you can search for packages. For example, i3. Yeah, here you can see the package search on the devuan page. i3, then Sakura. Give me a second. Here's the Sakura terminal. You see in Excalibur and in Ceres is the terminal, and Jesse, Beowulf, Chimera, Daedalus, and here's the version numbers. So you can easily search Alacrity. Yes. And then Firefox ESR. For example, let's change only Firefox. And then you see in the unstable Ceres branch is also the current Firefox. So bookmark it, for example, just to show you. And also you can do the links, not there. Let's install the Lynx browser. Or W3M. And then updated and cleaned, and then Lynx devuan.org. This is the terminal browser Lynx, where you can easily browse a page in the terminal. This is the most recommended nowadays, I think. Debian is installing Lynx per default. And here you can also search for the packages, for example, our package repository. And then you can see here search for Firefox, submit, and now you see now you see also the output with Firefox listed. This is the Lynx browser, and then you can also W3M. This is a W3M browser. You can here also page down with space key and B is backwards. Go to package. What I like is you can use the Vim keys here, W3M, and jump with tab to the next link. And then with the Vim keys you work downwards, and then enter, you insert a text, for example Firefox, submit, and then you get the site. With capital R you refresh a site. Now you have the overview with Firefox browser here. With capital U, you can change the URL, adding Firefox ESR, for example, and now you see the overview for the Firefox package. With A you add a bookmark, no. With escape A is adding a bookmark. And with escape B you open the bookmark page. Q or capital Q is closing. So in Lynx you use G to go to a new URL, or you use the capital G to edit the current URL and add some stuff. So just by the way about terminal browsers, and we are so this is about my aliases, the overview and the stuff. Let's close. And now this is it. D, F, then is the S alias lsblk output, and this is lsblk simple output, and the na aliases APTITUDE for APTITUDE, update, all is fresh, and then and the U for the system update alias. So this is amazing. This is how I like to configure my system. Very, very simple, very fast, to do the most of the stuff in the terminal and have always a fresh system, very fast, without very, very much stuff to type in. And then you can work your way. And then I forgot also, we have in the moment, I show you, I forgot .bash alias. At the end we put in alias equal sudo, and then we put in power reboot. An alias to easily reboot or power off the system, because sudo is needed. Okay, this is what I wanted. Source, and you have to make sure, if you are on a system which is not automatically sourcing the bash aliases, you have to open the bash rc and insert here source home variable .bash aliases, for example. This would be important. But in Debian it's automatically inserted here. If bash aliases exist, source the bash aliases. And on another system, when the bash rc is not read out, you make sure that the .profile, that in the .profile the bash rc is sourced, like here is the case. Okay, if bash rc is existing, then source the bash rc. So in some systems, Slackware or other, you have to create this manually. The bash profile has to read out the bash rc, and the bash rc has to read out the bash aliases. And then echo shell is showing the current shell. You also can grab then etc pass. Here in etc pass wd, you see the default shell for the user Dan is bin bash. You can change here also your default shell, but sudo -i login as root, and then change shell. Change sh is the command to change the default shell. For example, you install fish or zsh when you want. I stick with bash, because bash is just basic and clean, lean, and very functional, more functional than the normal sh. And with change sh, you change the shell to whatever you want, for example. Yeah, but I don't want this in this case. Yeah, and important is you have to make sure bin zsh, make sure that bin zsh is really existing, and then type your username at the end, or the targeted username. because if you're logged in as root, he would change the default shell for root instead. This is not what you want. And then, yeah, apt install csh, for example, blah blah, apt install, so. And then it's always recommended to use correct commands to change some stuff like the shell or other things like the password. With passvd, Dan, I would change the password for Dan, for example. Okay. With only passvd, you would change the password for the current logged in user, I think. So there are much more. With vsudo, you edit the sudoers file to change some stuff. For example, here's a sudo group can execute all root commands. And there's also an option for no passwd to disable that you have to type in the password for using the sudo command. So this is just, by the way, this one. Then important is also service. Let's jump to the big one. Service. Here you see all listed possible services. In the init system, sys4init, and systemd you have the systemctl command, and here you have service --help. Here you see the service command. You can get an information specific for a service, or you just get the status-all, and then you get a long list. You can pipe it into less, for example, then you can easily page down and back for the long list. Or you just pipe it into the column command, and then you get it in some columns listed and have an easy overview about the services and which service is running. This is running, dbus is running, elogd is running, and this is running, and nothing more. And if you want to add a service into a run level, you have to, I think there was a update-rc is the command, help. And then the update-rc command is base name, the service name, then remove. I think remove, stay away from remove. This is the hardest way to remove something, some service. Defaults would be set to defaults, I think, I'm not sure. But the disable and enable is important. This you can know. Disable service and enable service, and then you give the specific run level on which run level it should be disabled or enabled. This is important to know. And the S is for the basic start of the system, and 2, 3, 4, 5 are different run levels. And the run level 6 is, for example, for reboot, I think, and 0 is for power off the system. The ls @c rc, you see here, rc's are the run levels 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then here's the shutdown and the rc capital S and so on. And we have the nano @c-init tab is the important file for the basic configuration of the init system. And here you see the default run level is 2, id 2 is the init default, and then the start boot run level is LCS, and then you have L1, L2 and so on, and at the end all the run levels. So then you have ctr alt del in the terminal would be execute a shutdown, and then you have more stuff. So here this is important now. Here I want to go. Here you see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. On this, this is setting up the TTY. If you start a system, you are not starting a X desktop. You have just the TTY terminal to log in, and then you have the TTY from 1 to 6, and per default it's going to the 1, and so you reach in your Linux system the run level with ctrl alt and the F keys, F1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So if something hangs on your system, you have any problem, you go into the TTY, log in, and can kill a program, kill all processes of the user, restart the system, or make a change configuration in the system to repair something also. So this is about TTY. And there's an option. I show you, we edit the TTY here later. I just show you the normal way it is working now. We log out, we are in the user. And let's do bash aliases. I forgot something. You know, let's add alias x for start x to just start the X desktop very fast. And then, you know, we are here at the top. Let's do logout and again power off. We power off the system now. We go back to the terminal on my host machine. So it's using some time, but then here we are. And now we can start the virtual machine again. Here we are. Oh, this looks nice. So now you will see we start into a TTY. We have no display manager. This is the TTY, okay? And in the virtual machine I have in qemu with ctrl2 and 1 you can switch between the main output of the machine, or in 2 you can go to the command line for the qemu virtual machine. And when you do send key, ctrl alt dash F3 for example, is executing this key to the virtual machine. And now you will see, go back, here on the top you see TTY3 is now here. Okay, just by the way, how to use qemu. You can also go over the menu to switch between VGA and combat monitor. So here we are on the TTY1 and we have to log in, then password, and then you see this is our bash start, how we configured it. And now alias, you show all the configured aliases, and with X enter I could now start the X terminal with i3. So, but what I wanted to show, you start the system, you have to log in manually, and then you have a TTY. And from there, you start X into i3. And there we are, okay? And then, pickle, Y is the ps1 is not working well. Bash rc. No, here. ps1. You know, I just copy this again here into this, so I make sure it's always working. And now it is working. So because there is only if color prompt is enabled, then he uses PSY, and I want it in both cases, so I put it in there. And then pcal -u then, and then I'm back on the TTY. Okay, and so again, TTY, log in as user, and then you have to type start X to start i3. To make it faster, I created the alias X, enter, and it's starting i3. Now the prompt is working well. And then there is another possibility. I just create following: pgrep i3 output pipe to dev null, error output pipe also where 1 is sent, and if no i3 process is running, this one, then execute the following stuff. And the following stuff is echo, and echo you know, E. Let's do it in colorful output in red. No. And then this is just the colorful output. No. And this is just going back to and here we have to add the N to make sure it's not printing out an empty line. And then we can put out some text, for example, start X in 3 seconds or in 4 seconds, ... So, and then I just do read dash silence, N is after 1 character, read out the arguments, and then dash T for timeout. I give 4 seconds for timeout, and read into the variable ansv. And then we do variable ansv, then 2 send to dev null, and in this case, if not successful, and then we change this. When ansv is not existing, then start X equal true, and then ansv. And then if ansv is yes, then start X true. So I just grab the keys and then start X. Okay. And then I just do this, and if it is X, then also the same, and then if it is no, we stop here and do false, and then echo cancelled for example, and then I do R and then sudo reboot, and then I do P for sudo power off. So, and in this way I make a very simple question after the login, where I just have to type one key and it's automatically starting start X, or rebooting the system, or power off the system. And with n argument on the read command, you make sure it's reading out automatically after one key is typed in, without having to type the return key. So it's much more faster. So I only type X and it's starting the X desktop. And then you can change here, if the time runs out 4 seconds and no key is typed in, so no variable ansv is existing, he is executing start X is true, and then just do start X, and then we have to put it into curly brackets. But normally I would do it this way. ansv is start X equal true, then so normally I can ignore the other stuff here, for example this, oops, and then at the end is reading out the start X variable, and if the start X variable is true, then he is starting the X desktop afterwards. So this is how we can do it. And important is, I question before the pgrep i3, because I don't want to run this automatically when i3 is running, and you have to put in whatever you want if you use another desktop or Sway or whatever OpenBox you put in pgrep OpenBox to make sure it's not executed when OpenBox is running. Okay, because now you see it's just starting the normal bash in this case, and when I don't have the pgrep question before, it would also again start when i3 is running. So just this adding makes it faster for the login process. Yeah, and then pkill -u then, and then I'm back on the TTY. I log out, I log in. So now you see my safe and secure password for my virtual machines. I just do some short stuff. And now you see the red start X in 4 seconds. This is what I created. And with I typed N and cancelled. So I log out, I log in, and now you see I type nothing in, and in 4 seconds it's starting automatically i3. This is AUTOLOGIN created by the in the bash ICA. Okay, this is what I created with this one. And when I put in also just some information, and I put in yes, X, no, reboot, P, just to get remembered which keys I can type in. Okay, so and I also want to have a log alias logout where is logout okay. We also can create an alias quit i3, for example, for pkill-user dan, and then logout i3 is also possible, and then exit i3 is also possible. For example, just do it how you want it, okay? For example, logout is not fast enough. X is auch not fast. Quit i3, for example, is then quitting i3. So I'm back here. And now you see I just start the system to show you how it is working. It's starting, and we land on the TTY, and then I finish the AUTOLOGIN with an amazing last step for fully automatical login system. But it's not security. For security reasons, not recommended for normal systems. Login manually, and then you see yxnrp, and it's starting automatically i3. So, and I can also change this to 3 to make it even more faster. 3 seconds, and then it's important we do sudo nano etc init tab. So, and now page down, and now we go here into this first line, and now we insert here just following -- autologin dan. And now we start on the TTY, we start getty with -- autologin dan. And this is the final step for a fully automatical autologin in the terminal without a graphical user interface. And now we can reboot the system, and now you will see it's starting. I hands off the keyboard, just starting the system, and you will see it's creating an automatical login now. Look onto it. Bam, it's in. I don't touch anything, and it's starting automatically into i3. This is full automatic login. Amazing. So quit i3, and then I exit, and if I exit this getty, it's automatically auto login again. You see? And I type n, and it's cancelled. And I exit, and then I type, for example, I type R, and now it's rebooting. And you can do the delay to 7 seconds, or you can disable then you can disable the timeout for the read command, so it's waiting all the time for typing some key in. You can change this however you want it, okay? But it's nice to directly start into i3. This is a AUTOLOGIN without a login manager. So, and another thing is what you can do, you know, I just do it this way, and I remove this again, so we don't have the AUTOLOGIN. And now we can sudo apt install, or like I do it with my alias, and install the Slim Login Manager. So, and then I'm excited and I see he installed apt-pa xterm. I don't want xterm here. I don't need xterm here. But xterm is not that bad. You can configure it also very easily. Now we have the Slim Login Manager, and we have to enable the Slim Login Manager, and we have to do it with nano etc default. Where was the point? etc x11 default display manager. And here you see etc x11 default display manager user bin slim. This is what you have to check to make sure the right display manager is inserted here. This is important for the Sysvinit system, okay? And then I'm not sure about it in this moment if we do have to enable the service manually. I just reboot. We just check it out. Is he starting the login manager automatically now? We see no AUTOLOGIN in the TTY, and we see the Slim Login Manager is started directly. You see we just installed the Slim AUTOLOGIN Manager as a Slim Login Manager, and we checked the etc x11 default display manager, and so it's working directly very well. And we have the F1. With F1 we can switch between the sessions, and with then we can just log in. Here we are. This is the other way to log in into i3. It's amazing. I love this. So two great possibilities. And for example, we can APTI, let's install labvc. Can we install labvc? Now he's also installing xvalent, just for an example. And open box, just to defer. We could install many things more. aptc cleanup, and now we have enough space available. And then quit i3, and now you see we go back to the Slim Login Manager, I think, or not. Let's reboot. I don't know what it was. I think I have to use the normal way to quit i3 with the key binding. I show you. So here we are. What I want to show you, I installed OpenBox F1. You see now i3, i3 OpenBox, and i3, i3 OpenBox. We see the Wayland session is not shown in this moment. I think because only specific display managers start and read out the Wayland sessions. So lab-vc is not shown. Let's try OpenBox. Done. And now you see just a simple menu. This is OpenBox. Sooner, this is OpenBox with some stuff. Firefox. And the terminal. And you know, in this case he shows also the question, and we could change this when we add this line open box, and just this way. And then he's also question, is OpenBox running? So I changed this, and now there is no question popping up. Now let's check exit, and then we should go back to Tiling-Windowmanager. This is right, and then we go back to i3 and log into i3. And now let's check the right logout is super key shift E, and then you get the question logout out of i3. Yes, and now it's working well, going back to Tiling-Windowmanager. So I think we get it here. I showed many things, and now we are in OpenBox now. Why is this? You know, sudo update alternatives --config x session manager. Here you have to do the update alternatives config x session manager to set the default x session manager, and in this case I change to from OpenBox to i3. So type 1, enter, and then i3 is the default. This was the key because he was starting into i3 automatically into OpenBox. When I don't give anything, he chooses the default session you set with update alternatives. So, and now we change to i3, and now i3 is starting. So this is how you can manage the things. So when you install a desktop environment, for example, let's do apt, and let's search for LXDE, a very small desktop environment. Let's choose LXDE core. What he is installing, libraries, LXpanel, LXsession, PCManFM, and so on. Let's install, and then I show you how to install LXDE. And now you see he installed also the LightDM display manager, and we can choose now between LightDM and Slim. And this is only the case because we installed a second display manager. Okay, and when we switch to LightDM, he would start LightDM, and we stay with Slim in this case. Let's take some time, but we will finish soon. We finish soon. And now installed packages, not installed, blah blah blah. Clean package cache and quit. And now we just quit i3 and going back F1, you see default session is shown. Open box LXDE i3 default session. Let's check. Default session is already i3 because we did set it so. And then let's choose LXDE in this case. Let's log in to LXDE, and now you see here this is LXDE desktop, very basic, only the core image, and you see some icons work not complete well. We have to update some stuff, but this is the LXDE desktop core. I don't want it to install that much. You have the monitor settings and apply, save, and this is the file manager. You see this, these are not the LXDE icons. I want to show also, let's execute alacrity, and then you know APTT. So let's do it this way, and then search LXDE. Task LXDE desktop. Let's check here. Oops. You see here LXDE package, and now you see it would install. This is the complete LXDE desktop. Yeah. So the LXDE core image is the smallest. The LXDE only image is the normal, which would install more programs, and the task desktop LXDE is much bigger and will install some added more other stuff. And so I installed the core image because I like it small, and now I can choose manually which programs I want to install. For example, GPIC view, LX appearance, let's install, and then LXDE icon theme, let's install. Hotkeys for the keys, LX input, LX session edit, LX terminal is also nice. Mousepad is not. xarchiver, I don't know, I don't need it in this moment. Diodon is a clipboard, I don't need this in this moment. PDF viewer also not needed in this moment. Also the GNOME system tools Gucha map, I don't need this. LX music, LX Polkit would be important if you want to start a graphical root program. A network manager applet would be important, and then LX launcher maybe. Package update indicator can be helpful, and this is this. Let's install, and let's just check again that he is not installing big, huge bullshit. So just shown you can easily add a desktop also. So I like the minimal LXDE desktop. It's really nice. Absolutely like it. So clean up and quit, and then de-alias for the system view, and we see we have also space available, sudo -i volume group show, and we see we have also 200 megabyte free in the logical volume group, so we can resize the root logical volume for 200 megabytes as well, but we stay here in this moment. And now you see the icon is here, the LXDE icons. This is this one, and the menu. Let's log out some case, then, and now we are in i3. For example, let's change again. Now you see here we have in i3 also the icons, network manager icon, and the update let's do alacrity-e sudo aptitude. Let's change this, and now we can execute. If updates would be available, we can go to install updates, and he would open a terminal with aptitude, for example. But alacrity, I don't know, is this with, I think it's this way. So this is how you can configure it, yeah? Just to show you. And ls.config auto start, here you see lxrunner auto start is in there. I don't know why this is in i3 as well, but you know, I did again go into i3, and I want to show you X-Session Manager. Let's check this again, and now you see the default is with the asterisk mark i3, and now we could change to start LXDE, for example. Let's do 0, and now log out, and we log in again without typing F1, and now you see it's starting into DEVUAN with LXDE Desktop. Now you have this program gpigview, Firefox. Let's open Firefox. How it looks is it's looking this way, and then you have alacrity terminal, and then you have package updater. This is the package updater from GNOME, just updating the packages. So this is what you normally have connect with the package with the package update indicator. Yeah. Sakura is the other terminal, and the task manager is the LX task manager. It's also amazing. I like this. And then we have Rofi with CTL tab. You can switch the modes in Rofi: window, drun, run, SSH. So and with LX terminal, when you type rofi -show drun, this is starting directly in derun mode. Okay, so this is the PCManFM, and now you can also add in this application launch bar, add here LX terminal, add Alacrity, and then you have directly the terminal available. And now you can search apt, and let's search for clearlog Sapphire theme. Okay, this is what I wanted to check. And preferences, monitor settings, desktop settings, sessions. Here you can choose the window manager and some auto start stuff, and then you can package update indicator preferences, desktop preferences, this is just the normal one, wallpaper, etc alternatives. In etc alternatives there is also the background image for desktop background. So we also could ls etc alternatives desktop background, phi, and now you see this is a phi program and this is the image. So we could also echo exec phi -bg fill, and then this, and then add into config i3 config, and now you see nano i3 config, and now we can add, for example, this, and then we have another background added in i3 window manager, because the main background is without the text here, which we added before. Blah blah blah. Show trash icon, we can disable the trash icon. We have here documents, trash icons, connected volumes, and in this way you can do it. So and then what I also wanted is preferences, default applications, customize look and feel. I want to change to clear logs. This is a Sapphire theme for Devuan, and icon theme Deep Sea is for Devuan as well. And now you see the icons changed. Okay, this is Firefox, and now you have PCManFM here with the Devuan icon theme. I like this. I absolutely like this. And here you can change the window border from open box, and clear logs would be this one or this one, or clear logs Sapphire would be this one. So this would be the theme for Devuan, but B is also funny. You can also use this, but this is what they brought. So okay, this is about installing Devuan with i3 and LXDE. Now you have a good overview what is possible, and this is how it looks. Log out, back to Slim, then just choose i3, And this is the main setup I wanted to show you. So it was very, very long this day, but I load up this video. You can choose what you want to look. I set timestamps, I think, and then it's possible to switch between all the stuff you want to find out. And yeah, that's for today. Installing devuan. So remember, update alternatives is for changing the default X session. Then installing etc x11 default display manager. You can change the slim or light DM. And I showed you the AUTOLOGIN with the Getty, and so on and so on and so on. Thank you for watching, and I hope it was helpful, and I will make other videos in this year. So also I try shorter videos and reviews of Ubuntu and other stuff. This is just a deep review. I want to do each year some deep review, how to install manually complicated stuff, to learn for the depth of Linux and Debian, devuan and so on. So this was this video, and it will get better with more stuff. More user-friendly. I want to go for easy stuff because not each one is going in that deep stuff. But it's nice to learn the deep stuff and to know how to use it. I install the NNN file browser also, for example, just to show you. Is also very helpful. You can, for example, execute a shell and then touch a file, B file, and then log out, and then you see in the file manager you have two files with plus. You can mark a file, and then you go in another directory, and with V you move the file in this directory, and then you can mark the other file, and then you go and move it here. For example, with X you can delete it, and then with space you can mark it also, and then you can, for example, do it into templates, and with copy or Y with question mark you have the keys, and there's also a key for copying a file, P for printing. So P is printing the file here to copy, and then X is current deleting, and then D is showing the details or hide the details. And yeah, that's with E you can edit a file. VI is the default here. Yeah, that's it. Remove. Just to show you a little terminal file browser, file manager. Arranger is a bigger file manager in the terminal, and this is really amazing. This is the easy one, and the most complex and most usable one, but a bit slower, and NNN is a bit faster. So just showing you. So stay tuned and have fun. This is step 1. Init freedom.